Excuse me. Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Boston Straight Shooters. This is the show we talk about Boston sports. We talk about the Boston Celtics, Boston Bruins, Boston Red Sox, New England Patriots. Your host Frank. This is the show where I co-host it with Negative Ned. I mean Steve.
You got it right, Frank. Negative Ned.
Yeah, this is the show we're gonna talk about. There's a lot going on this week because of NBA free agency signings, NHL free agent signings, a couple other things going on, and some major stuff going on that's riveting throughout the entire sports world. So let's jump in first. I think you want to jump in first with the Bruins. So uh, let's get that ready.
All right, so let's do a recap of the draft first, and then we'll do the free agent signings since that's the order that they happened in.
Right.
So we want to talk about they had the number 7 overall pick. There was, between me and you, we thought there was going to be some colossal errors there.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately for them, they were not. They didn't get the guys I wanted, but they did take the next best player available, which is a smart thing. And they got James Higgins, who is a center from Boston College. And it's a good pick. And then with their second round pick, they got another kid that's at BC. I think he's the left winger. I'm not exactly sure. I think his name is Will Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two very good picks. I'm happy with those. Beyond that, I didn't really dive into the guys they got. I think they got a left winger, a defenseman, and a couple other guys. Not really worth talking about. So their first two picks, they got some infusion that they desperately need, some playmakers, and so I'm happy. There was no rant by the 8th pick, which is what we thought might happen here. So I'm pretty happy with the draft, what they did. Can't really complain. I would give them, for a grade, I would probably give them a B. I think it's too difficult to grade the lower round picks that they got and make any sense out of them, since some of them were European and Russian and whatever, and you really can't. You have to be really on it in order to follow those kind of guys.
Mm-hmm.
So my takeaway is that they did pretty good finally.
Well, I'm not sure about hockey when it comes to the draft and everything else, but let me ask you: does it work the same in hockey as it does in basketball? You really don't know what you got until they play the games. Is it like that?
Yeah, kind of. It depends. I mean, if you're picking in the top 2 or 3, you kind of know what you have, and those guys tend to play in the NHL right away.
Mm-hmm.
I think basketball, more of the first round picks have a shot to play. Maybe not start, but they have more of a shot to play than the NHL guys do. I think a lot of the kids that get taken at like 18 or 19 years old in the NHL draft go to juniors, or they go back to the AHL or something like that.
Well, in basketball, you still don't know what you get. You know what I mean? So you could get a bust still in the top 5. I think it's not as bad as football, though. In football, you have no idea. You're hoping everything looks good on tape. In football, you hope it looks good on tape, and when you get to the NFL, but you don't know. But in basketball, it skews up a little bit higher. I know that you have a better shot of hitting. But you can miss. You know what I mean? You can look at Markelle Fultz. Markelle Fultz, if you guys remember, back in 2017, was the projected number 1 overall pick. The Celtics ended up finagling to get the number 1 pick, and they still traded back with Philly, and because they knew they were going to get Jason Tatum, and those guys still were going to get Markelle Fultz, and he turned out to be a bust. He's still playing, but so I'm basically asking you: does it work like that in hockey? And can and do you think the Bruins possibly have a steal or two in the draft they were able to get that guy could end up being really good, and you don't know until they play? That's basically what I'm asking.
Yeah, I would say James Higgins, that fits the bill for a number 7 guy, and there have been number 1 overall picks that will bust in the NHL. I mean, it's just like basketball. You don't really know until the guys stop playing.
Mm.
So to answer your question, yeah, I mean, some people felt that getting Higgins there was a steal because he was projected to go anywhere between 1 and 4.
Okay, so let's talk about now. Let's talk about the free agent signings, because at the end of the day, that's what some of the stuff that we wanted to dive into that you couldn't wait. You was about to turn into a combustible, fire hydrant that you exploded with before we had the show. So
Listen, you wanted a rant, and you got it. And it wasn't the rant I thought we were going to get because I thought it was going to be a draft related one. But I am absolutely livid with what they did here. They had $28 million in cap space, and everybody's expectation around here was that they would get a second line scoring help and spend maybe 7, 8, $9 million on a goal scorer, and they came nowhere near that. They signed $13 million worth of players, and like half of them belong on the fourth line.
mm. So in
That's
other words, what you're saying is that the Bruins have 4 lines of fourth line players.
they're going to have 2 lines worth minimum of fourth line players. You have basically like 9 guys fighting for 6 spots, and they don't belong there. You basically have 5 or 6 guys fighting for 3 spots on the fourth line, and you have 5 guys fighting for spots on the third line.
Mm. Well, I guess
That's freaking 11 guys, 12 guys.
yeah, but it's still only July. It's still only July. Well, let me ask you this: is it possible? I don't know this. Is it possible that the Bruins are planning on using the strengths of these guys to put together a great team along with coaching? Is that possible, or are you going on sheer level of ability?
I'm going on sheer level of ability. Let me throw this at you real quick.
Okay.
The guy they signed, Tanner Jeannot, 28 years old. They signed him for 5 years and $3.4 million a year. He's basically a goon. He scored 7 goals last year.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Isamont. This guy, I need to read this because this caught my eye when they signed this guy. 2 years, $1.5 million. Fourth line energy winger who forechecks, finishes checks, and most importantly, shoots the puck a ton. He shoots the puck a ton. Do you know how many shots on goal he had? 142. Do you know how many goals he got? 9. That's horrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that math.
He's a fourth line guy. You sign this guy for $1.5 million to score 9 goals. I mean, that's brutal. Sean Corrali. Why did we have to bring him back? 2 years, 1.85 million. He scored 6 goals last year.
Mm-hmm.
They made a trade with Edmonton and got Victor Arvidsson, who was a 20 or 25 goal scorer, a few years ago. He scored 15 goals last year, and they took on $4 million of salary, even though his contract's expiring. That's not what they needed. They're banking on him getting 20 or 25 goals. You don't know that that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying all this though pretty calmly though. I thought you were going to turn red and explode. So
Well, Frank, I got a lot of my anger out during the rant, so I'm trying not to tie up too much of the show with the ranting. I mean, I'm still pissed off and I'm livid the way that they did this.
Mm-hmm.
There are 2 guys that they signed that were in the minors last year in the AHL. One of them is Alex Steves, 1 year, $850,000. He scored 36 goals last year. He's a center. And they have another guy, Matej Blumel.
Mm-hmm.
He signed for $875,000. He scored 39 goals last year. And actually, I read something today where David Pastrnak actually talked to him and convinced him to sign here instead of going somewhere else. So look, my fear anytime they get guys like this is they don't give them the opportunity. They put them on the fourth line. They bury them. The guys don't score. They put them in Providence. It's like these guys can score goals in the AHL. You have to give them a legitimate shot, at least on the third line or maybe even the second line. And my frustration with that is typically on the third line guys are usually the checking line against the other team's top line. So you can't take these guys that's talented and scoring 30 goals down in AHL and put them on the third line and check against Connor McDavid. They'll get killed.
The thing that's coming to my mind right now really quickly is I think that they probably did that because they must really believe in their draft picks. They must really have something up their sleeve with the belief and the faith that they have in their draft picks, because why everything else doesn't make any sense. And that's number one. And number two, maybe they're relying on coaching to help them win some of these games with the draft picks that they drafted and not relying so much on some of the free agent signings. Is that possible? Am I tripping?
No, I mean the young kids they drafted in this draft are probably 2 years away.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what I heard from Don Sweeney's press conference, because I watched the whole thing, and some of the things that people saying around the league about Tanner Jeannot and Arvidsson both were in Los Angeles when Marco Stern was an assistant out there. So there's familiarity. It's kind of like the Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick thing where they were bringing in guys from the Giants and so forth, right, to establish the culture. Because one of the things Don Sweeney said, and he was actually right about this, is too many games last year, they were too soft, and he said he couldn't stand for that. And so these guys bring some toughness, which is fine. The problem is last year they got two guys for that already. I mean, how many of these guys are you going to have? The league isn't built like that anymore. If there's muckers and grinders, and they have an excess. To me, they have an excess of muckers and grinders now, and still lack the talent that they were lacking last year when they couldn't score goals. That's frustrating.
Well, it seems like frustrating to me is that they're getting further and further and further and further away from the great team that they were 2 seasons ago. They're going in the opposite direction, which is obviously, as a Bruins fan like you are, I'm sure you're even more frustrated now than you were, 2 years ago. You know what I mean? So 2 years ago, you probably like, okay, well, you just dibble and dabble, make little small changes here and there, and you guys should be all set. Now it seems like they're working in the opposite direction.
They're not going to make the playoffs, Frank, with this roster. And look, I understand that they want to tighten things up and they want to be more defensive. And look, I agree to an extent that they definitely need to fix that. How many times did I come on here after they lost 6-2, 7-2? Yeah. They had 14 of those or 15 of those. That's almost a quarter of your schedule getting blown out like that. That's horrible. Yeah. So I understand trying to fix that. But they're going to play, every game is going to be 2-1 or 3-2 or 1-0. And they're going to lose a lot of those games because they're not going to be able to score goals. So I don't expect, I think, and I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, I think early on, in the first 10 games, 20 games, maybe they'll surprise people and they'll be right around 500, or they'll play better than people expected, and then it's going to level off because teams are going to catch up to them.
Yeah, not only that, teams catch up to you. People get the report, the scouting reports on how you play and all that stuff. You know what I mean? It might not even take that long. It might only take 10, 12 games. You know what I mean? You get that. Hey, we know how they're playing. We see their strategy. But, is it possible that the Bruins could be, because every year in every sport, there's always a dark horse team that you look at the stuff that they do in the off season, you're saying how the hell did they do that with these bums? You know what I mean? And next thing you know, they rally together and they're playing together much better because of coaching. You know what I mean? And so I guess I'm asking you, Steve, is that a possibility? I mean, or is it so far out that, because they're relying heavily to me on coaching and management. It seems like that's more than they have in years.
No, I agree with you. I look. Is it possible? Yeah, but they have to have a lot of things fall correctly for them, right? So they have to hope that those guys I mentioned from the AHL, Steves and Blumel, hopefully those guys are goal scorers. If those guys can ship in 20 or 25 goals each, and they're an integral part of, let's say they're on the second line. I'm just putting them there for now, just because they're talented guys. That needs to happen for them. Last year, they had Charlie Coyle on the second line, got freaking 15 goals. Terrible. And he was useless. So I agree with you. I think they're relying on the coaching staff. They actually did add a guy from Dallas, I believe, that was their power play guru kind of guy to help fix the power play here. So, look, one thing that was mentioned about Marco Sturm is he works well with the young guys. He was in the AHL for the last 3 years. They made the playoffs 2 of those years. I took a look at the age on the Bruins roster, and they have 13 guys that are 25 years or less, 25 or younger. So they have a young team. So, as much as Marco Sturm wasn't my first choice for coach, now you don't have a choice. You have to give him a chance, and let's see what he can do.
Okay. So last question. When you look at the team and you're looking at the moves that they can make, do you think they'll be done making these moves and everything else before, or they're going to do something dramatic before preseason starts?
Honestly, I kind of hope they make some kind of trade or trades that will allow them to sign a goal scorer, but it doesn't sound like that's the direction they're going to go in.
Do they have money to do that? Do they have money?
No, they would have to trade. I'm just throwing it out there, right? They would have to trade Jeremy Swayman, let's say, his $8 million salary, to another team and eat none of it and take no salary back, and then go sign the guys. Last week I gave you the free agent list from Tim Anderson, who's a member of our group, and Nicholas Ehlers was one of the top guys on the list, and he's probably an $8 million guy. So could they do that? I mean, it's possible. I think it's more likely that they trade somebody like Corpusalo, who only makes $3 million, but
Mm-hmm.
you would have to package him and like Zaka. They make $7 million combined plus, and then they have $2 million in space. So they'd have to trade those two guys in order to free up enough money to sign a legit scorer, or they'd have to trade Swayman, one or the other. And could it still happen? Yes. Would I like it to happen? Yes, because we need to upgrade the scoring.
Well, maybe they make a decision after 10 games or 15 games, maybe not that many. And after they decide to see if their plan works, you know what I mean? Maybe they do that, you know what I mean? Instead of obviously making these trades before the season. Because, we all know that the trading deadline, you could do a trade all the way up to, what is it, January? Like, or is it
I think the trade deadline's in February.
February? Okay, well, you could do that. Yeah, just like the NBA. You could do that out between now and February, but you got to see what you got. You got to see what you're working with, and then you decide. Okay, well, we make a trade or two. You know what I mean? Maybe they do that.
Well, you know what? Too, I've been listening to some other podcasts and some other stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
the free agent class next year is better than this year's, and so maybe they just felt like, you know what, this year's class isn't as good. We're not going to get guys that we really want. Maybe next year they have some other guys that they have targeted, and then they just built what they built now to establish the culture and get everything, up to snuff with the coaching. And maybe then next year there'll be some more moves and they'll get another guy that maybe is a better guy and a better fit.
Maybe they do what I suggested to you a couple of months ago and tank to get a better higher up bid.
And actually, that was part of the reason for my rant, is because all these moves make it look like they're tanking.
Yeah,
And I'm
maybe
like,
they do that. Mm.
these moves made it look like they're trying to get back into the top 5 in the draft. That's what this looks like to me.
And somebody, I don't know who said it, but somebody said the Bruins should tank. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, listen, you said the Bruins should tank, and I disagreed with that because I thought that they would make the playoffs. And then after this, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and I told them that you said they should tank, and I said these signings suggest to me that that's what they're trying to do. Now, I don't still believe that that's what they're trying to do, but that's exactly what it looks like. So the Swami is back again.
Yeah. I'm tired of being right all the time, but
Listen, I'm tired of being wrong, but I can't escape. I'm cursed. I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah, Steve, the thing is, you have to think about the mentality of people, the way they are and the way they run their business. And I see it all day, every day. So speaking of running the business and everything else, let's talk about the Celtics. Speaking of running their business, there's a lot going on with the Boston Celtics. Okay, Steve, first let's get out of the way who the Celtics drafted. Let everybody know out there who the Celtics drafted. And I don't know, last week I wasn't on. So did you talk about?
Yeah, you were on. You were on. You know who we talked about? Hugo Chavez. Hugo, what was that guy's? Gonzalez, right? Because we came on Thursday night after the first round, and they got Hugo Gonzalez and crap, I forget who the other guy is they got.
Well, they made some trades.
They made some trades. So we did not get the second round guys, and I have them here if you want to do that.
Yeah, go ahead. Talk about the second round guys.
All right, so they got Amari Williams from Kentucky, who's a center, and I'm actually glad that they took a center. I had the mini rant last week that they didn't get anybody, and we'll dive into him a little bit later. And they got another guy. Actually, they actually traded with Orlando to get this guy. So somehow the Brad, as I call him, Bombshell Brad now, because him dropping these bombshell trades, he made a trade with Orlando and swapped some picks around, and Orlando traded this guy to the Celtics, and they have another guy here, same thing, at number 57, trade with Orlando, and they got Max Shulga. Yeah, I think he's a guard.
Yep.
Right. So I don't really know a lot about him. I actually don't know a lot about either one of them. I don't watch college basketball, but I am glad that they got this guy, Amari Williams. I'll give you a little. I don't know how much you know about him, but for the folks at home, you know about him?
Yeah.
For the folks at home that don't, he tied the team lead in assists with 115, the most ever by a 7-footer at Kentucky. He had a statistical milestone, becoming the second player in the SEC history to record at least 375 points, 300 rebounds, 100 assists, 40 blocks, and 20 steals in a season. So this guy, and he's also known as a very good passer.
So tell everybody out there who we lost this week. Who Celtics lost?
They lost Luke Cornett.
Yep.
Gone.
Yep. And we're about to lose Al Horford. Okay.
Yeah, Al Horford. Yep, that's right too.
Okay. So Al Horford probably signed with Golden State by Saturday morning. So by the time we get that Saturday morning, so for those of you sitting at home and you're mad that Luke Cornett is leaving, let me just tell you one thing: Luke Cornett was not the second coming of Bill Russell. So relax. He's not, and he wasn't. You know what I mean? Luke Cornett. When you guys remember, Luke Cornett came to the Celtics on a 10-day contract and had to earn his way all the way up. This kid who they got, this Williams kid who they got from Kentucky, will come in as a 5-year player from college basketball. He's already better because he's played 5 years of basketball. He played four for another team, and he played his 5th year in Kentucky. That's number one. Number two, this kid can pass the ball and he can shoot, but he can really pass the ball. And most importantly, that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are going to love is he can really set some great picks while he passes the ball. So you lose Luke Cornett and you get a 7-footer who's better than the two guys who are already on the roster. He's better than Kata. You know what I mean? He's better than him right now. Right now, coming in as a college rookie, he's going to be better than Kata. And we're going to sit there and say, wow. So I'm going to make a prediction right now. You can't say I didn't say it. And you're going to be my witness, Steve. When they had with Alex Kate, I keep forgetting.
Nemus Quater.
Nemus Quater is going to get better this season, and this Williams kid is. We're going to have a 1-2 punch of these two big men, and we're not going to miss a beat in that department. I'm a little nervous about this Hugo kid because this Hugo kid can shoot the lights out. He can. I don't know what his defense is going to look like because he's coming from Europe. I don't know what he's going to look like when he plays in the league. I already know what the other kid look. Who the other kid they got from Orlando. He's a bum. Like he's a bum. I think they did that just to fill up some cap space. But that's the stuff I want to talk about. But here's the big thing that everybody's talking about. The hot topics that everybody's talking about is Steve. Everybody's talking about the Celtics going to get Damian Lillard, and I thought about it. I look at the math, and I'm on the fence. I love it in the morning. I hate it in the middle of the afternoon. Then I love it by this. Like right now, I'm loving it. You know what I mean? And I can tell you why I'm loving it. But let me just first ask you, what do you think about them getting Damian Lillard? So by the time he comes on the Celtics, if he comes to the Celtics, he's 34 now. He's getting ready to have his 35th birthday. He'll be 36 by the time he steps on the court to play for the Celtics. He'll be 36. But he is one of the best shooters of all time. All time. One of the best shooters. He's in the top 75 all NBA players of, how the NBA did their top 75 players and all that. He's in the top 75. So before I go on any more with that, tell me what you think, and I'll tell you what I think about if they do get him.
All right, so I've been hearing all the chatter about trying to get him. Money-wise, it makes sense because obviously Milwaukee's eating his salary. The only question I have with getting him is he willing to be the third wheel behind Tatum and Brown? And the things that I hear is that he wants to be the guy and have all the shots. And so there's only one basketball. He would have to come in, to me, like Ray Allen did when Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce were here, and he has to take a little bit of a back seat. If he doesn't do that, then I don't want him because he's going to disrupt the chemistry of what they're trying to do. And he's older. I mean, from a basketball standpoint, one of the best to play. The other thing too is what happens to Derek White and Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard goes to the bench, and he takes over, and he's there with White in the backcourt.
You want me to answer that now? Because this is what I think.
I answer it because those are the concerns I have. Is that he's not going to be willing to sacrifice a little bit in order to help them.
See, people are saying that now, but what people aren't thinking about is this guy's 36 years old. He's in the top 75 NBA basketball players, and he's never won an NBA championship. By the time you get to that age and you're getting ready to phase out and you've got all the money that you could ever have, you have all the accolades, you have all the awards you could have, but you don't have an NBA championship. When you get to that point, you're willing to make a sacrifice so you could win an NBA championship and possibly be an MVP in one of the finals. You know what I mean? Like maybe you might be the Western Conference MVP or the Eastern Conference MVP. You might even be the MVP of literally the finals. Now, the position he plays is shooting guard. If he comes in and plays for the Celtics, he literally can set himself up to be the MVP for if they even make it to the finals if they play with the Celtics. The reason why is the style of play that the Celtics play. If you watch, the Celtics are a three-point shooting team. That's what they do all the time. But with Dame, not only can they do certain things like attack the basket and kick it out, but now they will have another option because what Drew Holiday wasn't the greatest shooter. Derek White is a great shooter, but Dame is even better than him. You know what I mean? So now when they attack the basket, this is why the Celtics will win the championship if he comes. Now you would have Derek White on the left hand side of the court, and you will have Drew Holiday on the right hand side of the
You
court. And
mean
then,
Damian Lillard?
that's what I meant, Damian. Then you have Damian on the right side, and either way, no matter where you go, you could do the triangle offense or something similar to it, and move the ball around and keep shooting the lights out. And with him, you have your shooting percentage even goes higher. The Celtics already was the best 3-point shooting team last year. They were the second best this year. Next year they're going to probably be somewhere up there. But if they get him, they'll break records because it's the style of play that, not that I like it because I don't like it at all, but they will put up numbers that we've never seen if they add this guy. And if they decide, you know what, we just want to shoot, which I don't even like that style of basketball. But if they decide, you know what, we'll attack, depending on who they face, we're going to attack the basket, because the team that we're facing doesn't have a great bigs. We'll attack the basket that way and we'll score. If not, we shoot. You know what I mean? Either way, the ball will move around. And listen, it's the Celtics going to be probably one of the, if they get him, they're probably one of the best 3-point shooting teams and probably one of the best Celtics teams to ever play. That's what I'm predicting now. That's why I like it. Now, why I don't like it is because of one of the reasons for what you said. And the other thing is they rely too much heavily on the 3-point shooting. You know what I mean? Like too much on it. Whereas now, instead of shooting 63 they're shooting 73 pointers a game. You know what I mean? That would be ridiculous. But we're heading to that. We're literally heading to that. If they get him on the team, I think that would. I think it could be really normal for us to sit there and say, okay, the Celtics shot 73 pointers. You know what I mean? They took 70 shots, a game. You know what I mean? And my God, that would mean literally that you might shoot 5% or 10% of twos. You know what I mean? And low, that would be insane basketball, and that would force the NBA to probably make some changes. That's why I don't like it. But I want to win, so I'm a Celtics fan. I want to win through and through. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you this, because I've been listening and paying attention to some of these guys, the Hugo Gonzalez guy, and this
Yeah,
other guy they signed from Minnesota, Josh Minot.
he's a
These
bum.
guys are cutters and slashers.
Yep.
And I heard some guys on sports radio and whatnot talking about how the league is kind of changing towards that style of play and less towards the three. Is it possible?
That's not true. That's not true at all.
Well, this is from people that watch basketball, not from me. I'm just telling
No,
you
I know. The guys who were saying,
what I'm hearing.
yeah, the
Well,
guys who were saying
I'm looking at teams that carved the Celtics up last year, like Orlando, who were quick and they were cutting to the basket and getting all these easy baskets. I think, listening to some of this stuff, I think the Celtics, look, they need to shoot a few less threes. They averaged 48 threes a game. And there were some games where they threw up 55 and 60, probably too many. I don't know if they're going to be able to survive continuing to do that.
First of all, Orlando slashed to the basket because they didn't have shooters. If your team
Correct.
has shooters, when your team has shooters, you're going to shoot. You know what I mean? Detroit was up there in the league, up there on the East, and because they got shooters. Houston was the second best team in the league because they have shooters. Obviously, OKC won the NBA championship because they had the best shooters in the league, and they were the best team all season long because they had shooters. The minute the Celtics didn't shoot that much and they weren't doing that much, guess what happened? They got bounced. The minute they changed the way they play, and Porzingis wasn't able to shoot and come out to shoot, or he was disappeared in the playoffs. What happened? He disappeared. The Celtics disappeared. You know what I mean? Indiana got to where they are because of shooting, and that was their style of play. So what I'm saying to you right now, so you can see it for yourself instead of listening to what other people are saying, the game right now is a shooting game. It's not a slashing to the basket game anymore. We're just not watching. That's not the type of basketball we have right now. It's just not. So I'm sorry to even say that, but that's where we are. Indiana literally shot their way to the NBA Finals. If they were going to just play inside out basketball, they would have never got past New York. You know what I mean? New York was trying to play inside out, and they did, but New York couldn't keep up, and they lose 4-2. You know what I mean? Didn't go 7.
That, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm telling you. Whenever you hear some guys telling you that, you immediately go, okay, this guy doesn't watch basketball. He thinks he knows basketball because he says this, but that's not true. I watch basketball and I breathe and sleep basketball, and I played basketball, and I did it all the way up for college too. So I'm telling you, the way it is, the game has changed. It's so bad that the commissioner literally has had his office phone blow up because they want to institute uh, a, a new rule, whereas you can only shoot so many 3 pointers a game. That's what they, or
Yeah,
you
I
can
heard
only
that.
shoot. And I'm fearful that it probably will happen because so many teams are shooting and so many fans are complaining. So that's that.
I have
I
a
look at
question. I have a question for you, real quick.
okay, go ahead.
That Simons kid that they got, do you think they're going to keep him or trade him because his
I think they're
contract's
gonna, I think
expiring?
they're, I think they're gonna keep him up until, unless something falls in their lap. I think they're gonna keep him up until the trade deadline, because right now you would have that Hugo kid, that Simons kid, and Jalen Brown, and obviously Peyton Pritchard. So they still what people. This was the funny thing, Steve, and I want to move on. People are thinking that the Celtics are still not going to shoot. The Celtics, and nobody's talking about them in the playoffs. The Celtics, they didn't lose the shooters on that off that. You know what I mean? They lost guys who could rebound, but the Celtics, the Celtics were winning games because of the shooters and the people who, and the percentage, high level of percentage they were shooting. And what did the Celtics do? They replaced all these young guys they got prolific shooters. This Hugo kid shoots 44%, and shot 44%, and he was a pro since he was 14. This other kid that they drafted, he shot 47% from 3 point. So they're basically getting more 3 point shooters. You know what I mean? And then they got a big who can pass the ball on the pick and roll to help free up what? Shooters. You know what I mean? So it's going to be amazing to me how many people are going to have their mouths fly open when the Celtics are going to be third or fourth seed in the playoffs next year. Watch. So okay,
Okay.
I'm just letting you know. I watch basketball and I pay attention to what they're doing. So let's move on. Who we talk about now? The Red Sox. Oh my God.
Oh, jeez. Do we have to? Holy crap, dude.
Have you ever seen a team? Have you ever seen a team implode and then try to get your hopes up high because then they went 2 out of 3 with Cincinnati, and then but you know that the team still sucks. Steve, I'm convinced right now we're halfway point through the Boston Red Sox season. You called it at the beginning of the season where you said they were going to suck. So now I'm leaning towards you. I'm not falling for the banana and tailpipe. I'm not doing it.
Banana in the tailpipe.
I'm not falling for it. I'm not falling for it. They suck. That Red Sox suck. You know what I mean? I mean, they suck. And if I'm Alex Cora, I opt out end of this year. That's what I do. I was against that, but if I'm Alex Cora, you're not getting help from management. You're not getting help from ownership. They have clearly made it known that. Correct me if I'm wrong. They clearly made it known that they're not spending money. They're not going to do what they're supposed to do to help them get out of it. They're not going to plug in holes. You got Steve. I'm just so frustrated. You got guys dropping the ball everywhere. Their defense is terrible. Just I watched the Red Sox game the other day. Can you tell? I was so mad. I was like,
I've watched almost every game, Frank, and yesterday I was watching the game, and I can't believe that the comedy of errors is still going on with these guys. So look, I got called out for blasphemy for the Bad News Bears, but what did you watch the game last night? It looked just like the freaking Bad News Bears. They were throwing the ball all over the yard. They were doing stupid things like Romy Gonzalez tried to freaking stretch a double into a triple, got thrown up by 10 miles. I'm like, these guys are just playing stupid ball, and I don't know if they're tuning Alex Cora out because there's a lot being thrown around about, how come these guys can't feel better? Is it the coaching or is it Breslow and the young guys? Like, who's getting the blame? And so, again, I just think it's they're talent deficient.
you know what it is, Steve? I'm going to tell you what it is. And you're going to write this day down on this calendar that I said this. Okay? Watch this. Watch this. Everybody on the Red Sox as a player is trying to play hero baseball, and they're trying to play individually. They're not playing as a team. I watched one game and I was like, wow, this guy's trying to stretch a triple that was clearly a double. And I couldn't see from the angle if the third base coach was waving him on or he was telling him to stop. But what I could see was he didn't. He looked back and he's like, okay, I'm going for it. I'm going because they like the accolades of playing in Boston, and they get showered as they're the kings of the world when they win a big game, when they win the series. But when they lose, okay, big deal. So I don't know, Steve. Do you see him playing hero ball? Because it looks like they're playing.
Go back to Rafael Sadan
Yeah.
a week or two ago, right? Made that throw that was way off the line, and they asked him about it out because he missed the cutoff guy. He's like, well, if the throw was on, I had him out. It's like, hey, dingbat, that's not the point. The point is you're not playing. You're trying to play hero ball. That's not how it works. You're supposed to hit the cutoff guy. So
Hero baseball.
and I think I said that either you were on or not on, and I said that look, Alex Cora, when you see something like that, that guy's benched.
Yeah.
Bench him and put somebody else. Romy Gonzalez, dude, you overran and went to third base trying to play hero ball. Guess what? You're on the bench the next 3 games. And I said that it's hard for him to do that because they don't have enough talent. But you have to send a message somehow. These guys have to get it. 2 games in a row minimum. You're on the bench, right? And give somebody else a chance. I mean, the next guys are doing it. David Hamilton should never play right now, and he's still out there. It's like he should be benched. He's making errors every game he plays. I don't get why he's out there. Mm-hmm. So that part to me is on Alex Cora. And again, I don't know if he's doing like I said a few weeks ago, waving the white flag and being like, well, this is what I got to work with, so F it. This is what you guys gave me. This is the results you're going to get, and you're going to have to live with it because you guys listen to a computer and you won't listen to me.
Yeah. And he doesn't have the balls to say, you know what, I'm going to do what my eye test is telling me. He won't do it. He won't do it.
I think he won't do it because Craig Breslow or the upper management or the drive line guys or whatever. And again, I asked this, how could you re-sign here knowing that that's what you're dealing with? If you're knowing, so he kind of put himself in this position. He should have saw it coming. He should have saw when Breslow got hired that they were going to do the same thing that Chaim Bloom did and said, I'm not dealing with this. Don't bother re-signing.
No, stop. We already saw what the Red Sox are about because of how they treated Rafael Devers. Like we literally said, Craig Bledsoe and those guys will tell you A and do B. I'm willing to bet they did the same thing to Alex Cora. I'm willing to bet they wanted him to sign so bad. They're like, listen, you do this, we got you. We'll do whatever you need to get done. And now he's sitting there saying, they stabbed me in the back, which is the reason why he didn't want to get in between the Devers and them. He told them, I'm not getting between it because you guys lied to me. I mean, just Steve, look at it. Look at the way
that makes sense.
Look at the way that the things are playing out. Because why is Devers speaking to ownership? Why is ownership flying in? Because Alex Cora said, no, I'm not talking to him because you guys lied to me. I'm not talking to him. You know what I mean? Doesn't that make better sense?
Yes. It does. When you think about what they did to Devers in spring training, and now you think about Alex Cora, what they did, they pulled a double bait and switch on him.
Yep.
Oh yeah, we're going to spend money. Oh yeah, we're going to get you some better guys. Oh yeah, blah blah.
And all of a sudden, the only
guy they got was Bregman and the pitcher, and the rest of it they're piecing it together with freaking duct tape and Ocean State job lot bums.
Right. So sign right here, Alex Cora. Sign right here. We'll do everything else. And then as the season goes on, where's my guys? Where did I need this guy and everything? What's going on? You guys promised me this. Oh, so you guys stabbed me in the back the same way you stabbed Devers in the back. Well, we need you to pair this thing up with Devers because he doesn't want to play first base. No, I'm not doing that because you guys lied to me. I'm not doing that. So, and you guys lied to him. And you guys are. So what's going to happen is at the end of the season, I'm opting out because I have the ability to opt out. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do now, try to get the Red Sox to win as best as I can. But I'm going to opt out at the end of the season because I can, and I'm not coming back. So watch what happens. And remember, I said this, Swami, again. Remember, I said this because if you're just looking at it, Steve, you can see the writings on the wall, But anyway, let's talk about this cheating thing that you want to talk about too.
All right, so the Reds have this young pitcher that came up from Double-A. He's been good. I think he was 7-3 with like a 1.77 ERA in Double-A or Triple-A or whatever. They brought him up here, and I don't know how many starts he's had, but the Red Sox in the first inning completely lit him up. They sent 13 men to the plate. He faced 9 of them. Let me see. I got it here. Let's see. They sent 13 men to the plate, 9 of them against Burns. At one point, Burns threw a succession of 12 pitches that went like this. Strike looking, strike swinging, single, double, ball, ground out, foul, double ball, home run, strike looking, double, single, bye-bye, Burnsy. They scored like 7 runs off him. Mm-hmm. And I actually caught this during the game, and so did Lou Maloney, who's the color guy for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
When Durant came in from home and Willie O'Brien was coming to the plate, he went over and talked to him in his ear. Almost like telling him, hey, look for this, blah, blah. And that's not uncommon because they're supposed to help each other. I mean, and plus you got the stupid tablets in the dugout and all this other kind of crap. But it just seemed like they knew what was coming before it got there, and they schwacked the guy all around the park. And so they asked Terry Francona about it, and he said, Cora is one of the best at that. They were certainly ready. They were coming out hacking, and they were squaring it up pretty good. Almost sounds like a shot.
It was a shot, but honestly, the kid was tipping his pitches, and they recognized it early on. So
And you know what? The Red Sox have had guys do that too. It wasn't last year. It was Whitlock was tipping his pitches.
yeah,
I think Tanner Houck at some point was tipping his. I mean, I think they all do at some point inadvertently do that, and teams catch on, and then it's up to you guys to rectify it.
yeah, and if you're a rookie, you're gonna tip your pitches more. And if the pros see it, they're gonna whack you around. They're gonna, hey, welcome to the bigs. You know what I mean? They're gonna shellac you. Welcome to the bigs.
You know what
And
the point is, though, and this is where you're right, is that the Boston media has to have something to
yeah,
hop on and bury people. And the first thing they were talking about was like, well, see, they were cheating, but this time they weren't using garbage cans. Like, no, you ding dongs. It wasn't Alex Cora. It wasn't just him. Some other guys caught it, and that's it.
at the end of the day, you and I both know that Boston sports media has an agenda to, I don't know why, and we're the only city, well, besides New York, we're the
And
only,
Philly,
yeah, Philly too. We're the only city that like they want to beat up on the teams when they're bad and when they're good. Philly doesn't do that though. Philly doesn't do that. When your team is good, they're on your board with you. You know what I mean? But New York, yeah, New York. I think we're the only city that does it because when you're good, because when the Patriots were good for 20 years, the sports guys were still giving the Patriots a really bad rap every single. I used to literally get so angry. It was always something, and they always tried to get something from the kicker all the way. It was always something. And now when your team sucks, they're like, hallelujah. Now we got, and then they're piling on more of it. Well, with the Red Sox, I could see why you would want to pile on with them, but it's easy to say, and it should have been easy to say, not that they're cheating, that they tip the pitchers. You know what I mean? Hey, they're tipping the pitchers. That not the Red Sox are cheating. How the hell are you going to cheat when you never seen this guy before? You never faced this guy before. You don't cheat with that. What you
right?
do is you say, you know what? He's tipping his pitches because look at when he's throwing a strike, his foot lands here. Or he's getting ready from this. Obviously whatever it is, I don't know what it is. You know what I mean?
I know what you're talking about.
When he's getting ready, whatever pitch he's getting ready to throw, he does something in his mechanics that tells you what's getting ready to come. And they saw it very early on. And they probably saw it in the dugout when they were watching preseason, other starts from him. And you know what I mean? So they probably saw it then. So
Correct. No, and look, because they have the pitch comp thing in the hat now,
yeah,
and they're not using the signals, the guys that are hitting are looking for any edge they can get.
that's right.
And between that and like you said, they have maybe in a previous start or something they saw it. Everything's on film now. Everything's on tablet. You can look at it in 2 seconds. It's not like the old days where you had to like get a newspaper and look through film or something. I mean, so they're looking for an edge, and so I don't have a problem with it. The Red Sox, it's going to happen to them in some game if it hasn't already happened to somebody, and I'll use Walker Buehler, or I'll use even Luis. The $19 million guy that was getting whacked around earlier on in the year. Is it possible that maybe he was tipping something or his mechanics were off or something and they picked it up and he's rectified it? You know what I'm saying? Like there's always adjustments. There's always guys looking for an edge. Then they had to start with maybe they have a camera in center field again, or maybe they're using the watches like before. It's like they already got fined for that. They're not going to do that again. Let's just stop.
Not to mention, that's just to say one thing. If you got caught cheating, doing something like that in the Red Sox, especially with Alex Cora and all eyes on that, there are so many people with them looking out for that right now. That for them to risk something like that would be beyond stupid. Everybody in the front office just gets fired if they do that.
Again, why would Alex Cora put himself in that spot again? He missed the whole year.
And especially in a year when he can opt out. So why would he do that when he knows he can opt out? And if he gets caught cheating again, and a year he can opt out, he'll never work in baseball again. Like that conversation on Boston Sports Radio is so stupid to me. But all right, let's move on and talk about. We got 2 minutes. We could talk about the Patriots. Not that they did too much anyway, and not that there's too much going on in the land of New England Patriots. But tell me what the moves that the Patriots did, Steve.
So actually, I don't think they made any moves, but there is something that I want to talk to you about. What are your thoughts on the Patriots trying to trade for Washington wide receiver Terry McLaurin?
I hope they don't do that. I hope they don't do that. I read about this too. This is. I think honestly, this rumor comes out. I think sports writers and sports people. They try to come up with stuff to write about. You know what I mean? To keep people to keep coming back and for clickbait. You know what I mean? I don't think the New England Patriots are thinking about this at all because the Patriots wide receivers room is stacked. You know what I mean? It's so stacked. They even have a couple of running back guys and tight end guys who are coming in who they already have lines to come in and figure out who they're going to pick. I don't think they're going to make a trade for anybody else in the wide receiver department. And any other department on I think they might make some other moves, but not for wide receivers. I
Would
just
he
don't.
be an upgrade over Diggs or no?
I think it's a definitely a not. Diggs is a better player. I mean, listen, that's Diggs is top 10 wide receiver in the league. You know what I mean? Some people could even say he's top 5. Depending on what year before his injury, he was the guy. They have that guy. You know what I mean? And because they have that guy who's going to get double teamed, is going to open up the ability for a couple of other wide receivers who they have right now who's going to shine. And this rookie that everybody keeps talking about is going to probably be a superstar by this time next year. You know what I mean? So I don't think you're going to do that because you got to give up something to get it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't see it. You see it?
So,
You see it?
well, I don't see it. I mean, everybody's focused on how much cap space they have left, right? Well, they have the money to do it. They could pay him $30 million. And I was talking to a coworker today, and I said, "Look, you know what typically happens? They get these guys. The guy's 28 years old. They're going to sign him for a 5-year, $30 million a year, and then he's going to tear his ACL, and he's going to be out for the year. And then you just spent $30 million. Debo Samuel, who's the other guy that tore his ACL? I mean, that's the McCaffrey. I mean, you sign these guys to big contracts, and then they're getting hurt. And
Right.
so now, I mean, would it be nice to have them? Yeah, but not at $30 million. I think that's just too high. And they would probably have to give up a first-round draft pick in order to do it. And they're rebuilding, and they're not in a position to be able to throw those away right now.
You know what I could see the Patriots doing? I could see the Patriots getting in on the TJ Watt situation. You know what I mean? Because Pittsburgh's trying to unload him, and everybody knows Pittsburgh's trying to unload him, and nobody's going to give back a lot for him. So, you know what I mean? He's going to get traded for peanuts. Now, I could see the Patriots going there because of the way the scheme is, and the Patriots really don't have any studs on the outside. You know what I mean? But with the way the Patriots set up right now, with the nose tackle and with the with Keon White, and obviously the kid that they signed. Oh my God, now his name escapes me. But you know what I'm talking about?
I know you're talking about.
The big free agent signing they got right now. They're really
Williams.
Williams. They really are going to be terrorizing the league on inside the game, but they don't have somebody on the outside. So if they don't get somebody on the outside that can help, solidify the outside, you know what I mean? Teams are going to know, okay, we have to go outside because the inside is going to get disrupted all the time because the Patriots inside is killing us. You get TJ Watt, you put him on the outside. Now, listen, the Patriots will have the number 1 defense, if not the number 2 defense in the league, and they'll be monsters. People, they're going to have to get a name because they're going to be so monstrous. You know what I mean? And I could see them literally getting in on that, and I wouldn't be surprised. Matter of fact, I'm going to put that in for my, what do you call that? The thing that we do?
Prediction?
Yeah, my prediction. I'm gonna say the
prediction is they're going to get TJ Watt.
Yep, my prediction.
Okay.
I think I put that down as one of my predictions. I think the Patriots are going to be in on TJ Watt, and they probably get him. Yeah, put that. What do I have to lose?
Are they actually looking to trade him?
TJ Watt, yeah, still is looking to trade him. Yeah,
okay.
Because of the moves they made with obviously with Aaron Rodgers, they made that move. With DK Metcalf, they made that move. Then they made a move, and they got the other wide receiver. So they made 3 moves, and then they got the cornerback. Pittsburgh Steelers got a cornerback, so they have to start shedding some money, and because they got so much money on the books now. So, yeah, and I just read 2 days ago that TJ Watts is not happy. You know what I mean? So, and everybody knows that they're gonna have to do something, and since that's happening, his name is flying around everywhere. That they got to move him.
So part of the reason I want to talk about that is because I listened to another podcast earlier this week, and the guy was breaking down who he thought was going to make it as wide receivers, and he has 3 categories: locks, near locks, and long shots. And so he has Diggs.
For the Patriots,
yeah.
You saying? Okay.
He has Diggs. These are locks: Diggs, Kyle Williams, the draft pick, Pop Douglas, Mac Hollins, and Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah.
Right. He said that Kendrick Bourne really looked good during the training camp there, the mandatory camp, and he fits Josh McDaniel's system and blah blah. And then the near locks, he has Jalen Polk, Keishon Boutte, and Chisholm the third, the undrafted kid that they signed.
Mm-hmm.
And then the long shots, he has Javon Baker, Jeremiah Webb, and John Giles. Now, I don't know who the last two guys are, but Javon Baker, I'm not surprised by that. But
I like what he said. Those three guys are not going to make the team. Those three guys, he just not going to make the team.
so there's a real chance they might keep seven guys, seven
Yeah.
wide receivers, and that doesn't
Yeah.
happen very often. The most they usually keep is six, and that's
Yeah.
stretching it.
Yeah, and honestly, I could see them doing it. That's why I said for them to make a trade to bring in another wide receiver where they have a lot of talent. Like, no, I don't. What's the
They
name
would
of
have
that
to
guy?
trade.
Who,
Go ahead.
I'm saying, what's the name of the guy who is really doing really well that everybody's talking about? Who's undrafted that they have?
I think his name is Efron. I forget his first name, but Chisholm the third. He's fast, and they're looking at him as a special teams guy, like punt return and kick return. And they definitely need that because some of these guys really are not built for that. And if they was to trade for McLaurin, you would have to trade like Bourne, Polk, and like a number one pick. And that's even if they would take that. You know what I mean? That might not be enough.
But why would you do that when right now?
I would not.
With Bourne right there and Stephon Diggs right now, you got to figure out who you're gonna because Bourne wins one-on-ones and Stephon Diggs commands two, double teams. So right now, the other three guys, whoever the other three are, who run right now, whether it's Williams or whoever.
Williams, Douglas, and Hollins.
Well, any of those guys. The Patriots are going to move the ball as long as they get a chance to be able to throw the ball, depending on the offensive line. They're going to move the ball. That's why I'm very confident in what the Patriots are going to do this year because of the wide receivers.
After listening to this and looking at the way the guy broke this down, you could easily see Diggs and Bourne on the outside with Williams and Pop Douglas in the slots,
right?
When a four wide receiver set,
right?
And these guys are going to get open,
right?
And then in the red zone, you throw Mac Hollins in and take out Douglas or whatever, and take Williams at one of those, and put Hollins in there, who's a big target. Listen,
it's
they can mix
offense all over again. And then you get one or two of those tight ends right there, tight end sets right there, and you have them helping the block on the offensive line. The Patriots are going to move the ball. So I'm going to ask you again, Steve. Do you want to get off that number you had?
Oh, we're going back to this. Nope, not getting off that number yet.
Okay. All right.
I was talking to the same coworker, and he said, I don't know. He goes, I think they're going to get 7 or 8 wins. I think 10 or 11, 12 is too high. So I'm not the only one that feels that way. I just think that until we actually see it on the field and see what they look like, I think, and then I said to him today too, how horrible the Patriots offense was last year and the year before. They should easily average between 20 and 24 points a game. They should not be 13, 16, 17 points a game. If they are, they may win some of those games that they lost last year doing that, but they won't be able to do that all year long and win 10 or 11 games. They can win 2 or 3 games like that, maybe 4, but they can't win every week like that.
But there were 5 games last year, maybe 6. I can't remember.
There was at least 4, I know for a fact, that they were winnable games, and they should have won them. They should have had 7 or 8 wins. We went over the whole thing last year already, they escaped me. But 2 off the top of my head that really burned my rear end. Seattle, they should have won.
Yeah,
and the Colts, where they lost like 10-6, was horrible.
Yeah,
that's 2 right there. I mean, look, we know that they were undisciplined and they cost themselves. And Vrabel said it in the first press conference. We need to take advantage of bad football and limit mistakes. And so they're going to do that. And so, look, I'm encouraged that they're going to me, get 8-9 wins and be in the playoff hunt. We have to at least get that. And anything after that, to me, is gravy.
They're going to surprise Buffalo a couple of times. They're going to definitely get to. Well, I shouldn't say they definitely.
And listen, I think Miami got worse with that trade they made. They got rid of Jonnu Smith.
Yeah,
right?
They're going to. I think they're going to beat Miami twice. I think they're going to probably beat the Jets.
They're not beating Miami twice, Frank. I'm sorry. They're not winning in Miami. They can't do it. And you still got Tua there, and the 2 wide receivers. The 2 wide receivers and Tua have lit up the Patriots. I think Tua is undefeated. I think he's 6-0 against the Patriots.
Yeah, he is. But guess what the Patriots did? The Patriots got 2 great corners, like great corners now. They're coming. So
I know.
I'm willing to bet that the Patriots beat them in Miami this year, which they haven't done in a long time.
But I'd be happy to see that. Trust me.
Let's move on.
All right, let's move on to poll questions. Poll questions we had. Come on, where are you?
They're gonna definitely. I can't wait. Do you think the Bruins should bring back Brad Marchand at 3 or 4 years and $7 or $8 million a year? Yes, he should retire. A Bruin, 43%. No, too old, too much money. 57%. Wow, really?
Frank, did you see what they signed him for?
Yeah, but
6 years, 32 million. 6 years.
yeah, not. It should have
He's
been three.
37.
Should have been three.
Did,
Should have been three.
listen,
He'd have played. He'd have played too.
without getting into it too far, I think what they did is they did him a solid and gave him the years. And I think the first 3 years
Yeah,
he plays, and they buy him out the last three, and they front load the deal at
yeah.
like $7 million a year, and then they buy out the last few. That's my guess how that's going to work. But that's we could talk about that next year.
Okay, go ahead. Read the next one.
What grade would you give the Celtics for their draft picks? A, 0. B, 33%. 33%. C, 67%. D, 0. I think C is probably accurate. It's really, like you said earlier, it's a crapshoot. You really don't know what you're getting. Even though
a C. People really think a C. The Celtics
only because nobody knows who the kid from Spain is that they got, right? And the other guy, like you said, he's just a throw-in. They just took him just to take him. So nobody knows anything about these guys. So how can you give him an A or a B? I can't.
I can give him a B, but a C is a stretch. I can tell you, I could make a case for a B. But anyway, keep going.
Okay. What grade would you give the Bruins for their draft picks? We had A, 0, B, 83%, C, 17%, and D, 0%. So most people thought that their draft was pretty good. And that would be a first if these guys actually pan out. So now we have to wait 3 years, and hopefully they won't be in the basement for those years. All right, now we are on to the predictions. I actually had 5, and I don't think I should ever go this high again because I got them all wrong. I think I'll have to max myself out at 2.
Keep going.
Oh, we'll see. All right, so I said Tannehill would wind up on the DL. Wrong. He's still pitching. But his ERA in Worcester is 16 point something in 3 starts down there. So he's doing terrible. Walker Buehler would go to the bullpen after his last start. Wrong. They're giving him one more start. But I do think he's headed to the pen after this because his last 6 starts, he's given up 32 runs in 11 innings, and his ERA is 10.29. In his last 3 starts, he pitched 3, 4, 4, and 3 1/3 innings. That's not gonna be good enough.
You're gonna have to give the stat. Just keep going. keep going.
Listen, I just got to tell you the reason why is he's pitching. He can't get past the 4th inning. He can't stay as a starter.
I know.
All right, number 3, Bruins mess up and take a defenseman with the 7th pick instead of a forward. Wrong. They did the right thing and took Senna at number 7. Sam Hauser gets traded. Wrong.
He will, but not that soon.
Not this past week. And this is the one that really dumbfounds me. I should have had this one right, but the Red Sox will not strike out fewer than 10 times as a team in any game this week. Wrong. They only did it once. I had to go back and look. They only struck out more than 10. It was exactly 10, too, one time this week. And so, you know how when you guys are watching box seats and somebody else has the same top 5 or category as you?
Yeah.
I think people are watching, and somebody watched this and said, we're not letting this guy get this right. We're not going to strike out 10 times every game this week. That's what I think.
Okay. So
right. Now on to yours.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get my thing here. Hold on. All right. You said the Bruins will make a colossal mess up and draft someone not even on the board. Wrong. The colossal part had me on the floor. That's still pisser. The Celtics will definitely make a move that we all see coming, a.k.a. Sam Hauser. Wrong. Didn't happen. Let's see. The Celtics will make a move for somebody that was not on anybody's draft board, forward or center. Ding, ding, ding. That kid from Spain, whatever his name is. So you get that one right. And the last one is Steve will have a rant ready to go after the draft. Ding, ding, ding. Wasn't directly after the draft, but there was a rant nonetheless, so I have to give you credit for that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay.
All right, now on to this week's predictions. I do have, now I said I shouldn't give more than 2, but I do have 3 ready.
Okay. You cheated, but go ahead.
I cheat. Well, I didn't cheat. I actually had them ready.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Go ahead.
All right. So this one, Craig Breslow and Don Sweeney go to the bookstore together and buy GMing for Dummies.
That doesn't count. That doesn't count because we'll never be able to see if that was right or wrong.
The Celtics will sign Damian Lillard,
Okay.
and the Bruins will trade Swayman and sign Ellis.
Okay. 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 I like this. So my prediction is the Celtics will sign Damian Lillard. I think they'll do that. And in order for them to do that, I think they're going to trade. Jesus, they're going to trade somebody. I kind of want to lead into Sam Hauser. I kind of want to lead that way. I think they're going to make that move. But I'll go on the record and say this: the Celtics are not done yet. They're going to make a move between this week and next week, and that's one. And I also want to say that the Celtics going to make a move for Damian Lillard. You know what I mean? I'm kind of on the fence about Sam Hauser, though. I got to admit, I'm on the fence for that. Also, our other prediction is the Red Sox are probably going to lose more than they win this between now and next week. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't see them winning too many more series. They're playing horrible baseball. They're playing horrible baseball. So,
you know what? You say that they have 3 games against Washington, who are in last place, and then after that they have 3 games against Colorado, and they're in last place.
They'll probably lose all 6.
Colorado is on pace to win 35 games this year.
Yeah, and they'll probably lose all 3 of those games. Yeah,
and the way they're playing, I can't see them even splitting those games or taking 4 out of 6. I see them winning 2 games.
Yeah, the way they're playing, they're
terrible.
They're horrible. They're playing horrible. And they play to the level of the competition that they're playing. That's what really gets me upset. They do that all the time.
They're just playing stupid, period. They're playing dumb baseball.
Yeah, they do that often. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. That's the name of the show. We did our next week's predictions. Steve, did you do you did all your predictions, right?
Yep.
Okay, I did my predictions, so we getting ready to roll up out of here. That's good. I'm going to eat my supper now. It's time to go eat my supper and sit there and swallow up into, I might even come up with another prediction and I'll send it to you, Steve. I might do that. I might.
Very good.
Because I'm sitting here looking at a lot of things that are going to, I could predict a couple other things that's going to happen around the league, but right now this show is just focused on right here, right now. And yeah, so let's do that.
We got time, Frank. Don't worry.
Yeah. I'll send it to you. This is the show called Boston Straight Shooters. We talk about the New England Patriots, Boston Bruins, Boston Red Sox, and the Boston Celtics. That's Steve. I'm Frank. Steve, anything else you want to say before we roll up out of here?
Nope, that's it. I think we're good.
All right. See you guys.
So, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks for voting in the polls. Thanks for your support. And don't forget to check us out on YouTube. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks.
Thank you.